Welcome to the Sendcast. My name is Dale Pickles. I'm the host of the Sendcast. I'm also the managing director of B Squared. And if you're not sure who B Squared are, check out a link in the show notes and you'll find all about us. If you're a new listener, then welcome to the Sendcast. The aim of the podcast is really simple. We want to reach lots of people and help everyone, including me, learn more about special educational needs and disability. In this episode, we discuss neurodiversity and sport and the importance of creating safe, inclusive spaces where neurodivergent children can thrive. My guest this week was Liz Day, and Liz is the founder of Collectively Diverse CIC, and she started as a teacher with a specialism in PE, using her background as a former county-level gymnast and lover of sport. Liz contributed to the London 2012 Olympics and Paralympic Games bid, and over the last decade, Liz has specialised in neurodiversity and education. She combines her personal and professional insight to share strategies for creating inclusive living, learning and working environments. The Sendcast is created by us here at B Squared, and I normally mention our assessment software. It's what everyone knows us for. But this time I'm going to talk about EverSense, our evidence for learning and parental communication system. It feels like social media, so it's extremely easy to understand and use for everybody, but it's also extremely secure. It's a safe place to share evidence of learning with parents or external professionals, and it's also a great way to capture pupil voice or use as your homeschool diary. Visit the B Square website to find out more about EverSense, or click on the meeting link in the show notes to book a meeting with me to take you through EverSense and what it can do for you. Now, let's get on with that podcast. My guest this week is Liz Day. Liz is the founder of Collectively Diverse CIC, and Liz started as a teacher with a specialism in PE, using her background as a former county-level gymnast and a lover of sport. Liz contributed to the London 2012 Olympics and Paralympic Games bid, and over the last decade, Liz has specialised in neurodiversity and education. She combines her personal and professional insight to share strategies for creating inclusive living, learning and working environments. In 2024, Liz completed a Master's in Psychology at the University of Exeter, with her thesis exploring mental health literacy in young people. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. Now, you are a very sporty and physically active person, aren't you?
Fair to say, yeah. I don't like being still.
And luckily, you can't see most of me, so you can't see how unphysically I am. But I have started going to the gym on a regular basis. It's my new school year resolution. We're recording in September. So I have been, I think, double digits already, which is not bad in 16 days. So getting there. And I'm learning my body is older than me. I had a frozen shoulder injury and I really do not have much strength pushing things up anymore. And it's making me feel old, and I'm learning I really need to do this physical activity. It's the use it or lose it, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But in this modern world, it's really easy to never leave your room for youngsters. Food can be delivered either by actually your parents or delivery, and all your friends can be accessed online. Physical exercise can be easily forgotten.
100%. And it's only as I've got older that I've realised the importance of physical activity for me. I've always loved sport, but actually going back, last weekend I went back to Cardiff, where I was at university. I started there 30 years ago. And although I did teaching with a specialism in PE, and I was at a very sporty college, I did very little sport when I was there. And my mental health did really suffer at times because of that, because I just didn't realise. And reflecting at the weekend, I'm like, if I was there now, I'd love all the opportunities to do loads of sport, but I kind of just forgot about sport when I went off to university. And I'd gone from being a competitive gymnast, training lots of times, coaching, doing all sorts of other activities, to not being physically active. And although I loved my time at university, there were a lot of mental health difficulties as well. And I'm sure a lot of it was because I hadn't made that link between the fact I needed to do physical activity to keep myself well.
It's interesting. I've seen a few programs and photos recently of someone who used to be really into sports and they broke their leg and they put on loads of weight. And in my head, I'm going, but you're a physically active person. You probably know all about nutrition. So you probably would have thought, oh, I've broken my leg, I can't do exercise. I'll reduce mine. But it's almost like it's that mental health bit happens, maybe without them even realising it. And suddenly they've put on quite a lot of weight, they're unhappy, which probably then, and it's quite, you go, but in my head, I'm going, but you know all this stuff. But actually it's, when your focus is on it, you know it. But when your focus is elsewhere, it's easily forgotten.
Yeah, it's very easy to forget that. And also because there's likely to be some mental health issues just purely because you're not active. But then also, if you've been used to being very active, even more so, your mental health is going to take a knock. So you might be eating to try and make yourself happy. And then it's a vicious circle, isn't it? Because you put on more weight, which makes it harder to exercise. It makes some injuries worse, exasperates things. And it goes round like that. And yeah, it is very tricky. And it should be so straightforward that we all know that exercise is good and we do it, but it's not. But also, and I had a lovely conversation with a girl in her 20s at a conference I spoke at last week, and she came up and chatted to me afterwards, and a lot of what I said resonated with her, and I was talking specifically about mental health and neurodiversity, and she was sort of commenting on, and we've got similar backgrounds, she was a gymnast as well, on how we kind of sometimes forget what we need to do. And although we know it, and then the other part of it is when you've been very physically active, you almost have to punish yourself. You think you do. So unless you've done exercise that you actually feel completely exhausted at the end of it and you can feel the pain the next day, you don't think you've exercised. So mentally, you can still be punishing yourself. And I was trying to get across to her with the extra kind of 25 years experience I've got that, and it's only just recently I've kind of really started to acknowledge it myself, that sometimes a walk can be much better for you than really pounding at the gym and hurting yourself and being like, oh yeah, I worked out hard then, I did extra weights. And it's got to be a mixture. It hasn't always got to be full on exercise. So I know for a lot of people who aren't exercising, they have the other problem that they can't get motivated enough to be active. And then people like me,
Pointing at myself.
people like me then are, we've got to actually be like, no, hang on, what is healthy exercise? And yes, sometimes it still can be. And I love any kind of sport. And I'm very into paddle at the moment, the game that's a bit like short tennis and squash. And I went along to that one week, met new people, and they said, oh, Liz, do you want to play floorball? I was like, what on earth's floorball? Before they'd even told me, I'm like, yeah. And it's indoor hockey. So yeah, then I went along to that, and I just love it really gives me it feeds my ADHD need for new things.
We don't need any more racket sports. I think we've covered them enough. Pickleball, paddleball, we don't need them. If I've just offended you, I'm so sorry.
It's not new. Don't tell me you think it's new. I first played paddle 32 years ago in Argentina.
Still new then.
Well, I suppose compared to some things, but I get on my high horse because so many people in the UK say, oh, what's this new sport, paddle? I'm like, it's not new. It's just it's finally been accepted here, and it's an amazing sport. So don't knock it.
Is frisbee golf really a sport? I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
I'm useless at it, so I'm happy to get rid of it. But not that I have to only do things I'm good at or anything. But
not at all.
I'm not great at paddle. So,
but it's interesting. I think there are those who almost grew up doing lots of exercise, like your gymnast. Yeah, that you probably started from a young age and did it all the way through 20 years or so type thing. You were just constantly doing that thing and probably learnt how your body responded. If you didn't do it, you learned how you felt. And you knew the benefits it gave you.
Yes and no, yeah.
And also it kind of a routine for spending time doing this.
Yes.
Now for me, my mum was a teacher, so she was a busy person, so she got her steps in just walking around the classroom.
Yeah.
So therefore, during the week and at the weekends, we didn't really do exercise. We did some sailing, which at times, but apart from that, we didn't go on walks. There wasn't, let's be healthy stuff. That just didn't happen. So in my head, doing exercise was never an important part of my schedule. It's literally when things get busy, the first thing that disappears out of my schedule is exercise, because I've never really been that into it to build it up. So then, and my friend goes, "Oh, you know, when you go to the gym and you don't go and you feel," and I'm going, "No, I do not." Now, it might be my neurodiversity and my proprioception injury, whatever section it is. I might not have that because, and someone says, well, if you don't use it, you won't feel it. So I don't have that in me. So, and people say, oh, if you do things 10 times, it becomes a habit. No, it doesn't. No, not with ADHD or autism or something. One of them, no. Me doing exercise is a daily, you got to do it. And it's going to be interesting as it gets colder and winter. I do it in the morning now. I don't do mornings, but I've learned I never want to go out again when I get home. So I'm never going to do it in the evening. So I have to do it. So I'm learning for me as an adult. Mm-hmm. But again, I've not been a great role model for my daughters. And I'm trying to get them to do the exercise. And we're all neurodivergent. So yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, there's some really interesting points that you said there. And I've got to try and now remember everything I wanted to say back, because there was all sorts of things. And something that you've just opened something for me that can now go into my presentations about sport and neurodiversity. So starting with that, I didn't start gymnastics at a very young age. I tried to. I think I went along when I was about 6, must have been 5 or 6, and did the old bagger, which is now British Gymnastics, but it was bagger at the time. I think it was sponsored by Coca-Cola.
Yes.
Awards. And at that point, it started at 4 and went down to 1. Now, well, when I've last taught the scheme, it was up to at least 7, maybe 8, but I'm not sure where they're up to now. But I went along to this class for a few weeks and got my bagger 4. And they liked my talent, I suppose, and invited me to go along to a gymnastics club. And my parents took me along, and there was some kind of confusion, which again ties in really nicely with what I talk about with neurodiversity and sport. And I was put into a group of people who already did gymnastics. And I just sat there and cried. I was petrified. I couldn't cope. I thought I wasn't good enough. I don't think I've ever really got my head round the fact that actually someone messed up and put me in the wrong group. To me, it was like I wasn't good enough. I was just petrified because they were talking the talk, and I'd never been on a bar before. I'd never done this. And I just cried. And I think I probably refused to ever go back again. And that was it until I was about 9 and we'd moved to Torquay. And again, I started at it's more of a local youth centre sports club kind of thing that just did a little bit of sports, wasn't a specialist, did a bit of acrobatics, probably it was, and someone suggested I go to the local gym club. I did. This time, I think my parents knew me well enough to know they had to kind of push me a bit. And again, the first few times I cried and I was scared. And then, in a way, gymnastics was a massive part of boosting my confidence. Competitions, let's not talk about. That still went wrong every time. I could do it in the session. In a competition, I went to pieces. But I had to push past that awkwardness. And I think there were coaches who were really good and understood me. I think there were a lot who got very frustrated with me, which I totally understand, because I was annoying, because I had this talent. I couldn't get it out. In fact, fast forward, so that was 9, I think either 11 or 13, 11 and 13, I went to Romania and Bulgaria with the gymnastics club. One of them, and I always forget which one it was now, the coach there said to the translator, who said to my coach, wow, this kid has got so much talent. And my head coach said, I know, you try getting out of her. And it was true. The block was in my head, not my body. Whereas then if we go back about 10 years, when I was doing adult gymnastics alongside my daughter then being the competitive gymnast, and there was a Christmas display where we both performed, because as adults we decided we'd do a little display, and my parents came along mainly to watch my daughter. Obviously saw me, and my dad summed it up, and my dad said, Liz, when you were younger you didn't have the mental ability, but you had the physical, and now it's kind of turned around.
When you started saying that, I went, please don't say what. Yeah, he did.
He did. I mean, I think he did say, it's still impressive what you can do at your age, blah, blah, blah. And I have to say, I've always had this thing that I always want to still be able to do the splits and always want to still be able to do backflips. And at the moment, at nearly 50, I still can. So, my physical ability isn't awful, but it's not what it was when I was a child. But mentally now, I can talk to myself in a different way, and I haven't got all the, because I've started understanding myself. So yeah, I didn't start gymnastics that young. And I think it is really important that we're aware that sometimes if a child goes to a club and they don't feel welcomed or there's some kind of mishap, that might put them off completely. So we need to make sure there's that welcoming environment. But then on the flip side of that, unlike you, I was from a very sporty family who activity was just part of our lives. My dad had played football for Wimbledon part-time because his dad didn't think it was a good career. So he didn't go into he had the opportunity to have a football apprenticeship, but his dad didn't think it was a sensible career. And my dad was a very obedient son. I'm not sure anyone could have convinced me not to become a professional sports person had it been offered. So yeah, he was sporty. My mum was more tennis and netball. I mean, my dad, any sport he did, he was good at and loved. So we were sporty as a family. We were always active. So as a child and even as a teenager, I was still very active. But when I stopped competitive gymnastics at 15, so I was only really properly doing gymnastics for about 6 years. And then I've done more since, but there was a big gap. When I stopped it, I didn't know that I needed to replace those hours when I'd been active with more activity and at the same level. And for me, it wasn't just the activity, it was this achievement. So when I was doing gymnastics, I was achieving new skills. I was working towards a new level. I was getting a new grade. And it was all things like that. Whereas when you stop, it's like, well, what am I achieving today? I've done nothing. And I very much had this feeling of, I had real issues with failure, which I've grown a lot now. And I get really excited now. And it does make me smile because at one point, if I talked about failure and me, I would just tear up. It just happened immediately. And when I realised I'm not, I'm like, yay, this is such great. It's great. I want everyone to be okay with this. But yeah, it's not achieving doesn't help you when you're someone who feels like you're not good enough and you need to be achieving. So yeah, there's all sorts of things. And that I really want people involved with children and young people in sport to help young people, not just to do one particular sport and then think that's it when they can't do it anymore, they choose not to, but to develop that healthy mindset of exercise and why it's important to do some kind of exercise that's right for you. And different things are, right for different people. One of my nieces was a brilliant hockey player at school, but is not competitive at all and hated the ideas of playing competitively. Now, she happened to have the same, although she's about 20 years younger than me, she had the same PE teacher I had at school, at an all-girls school. And her teacher phoned up my sister and said, well, your daughter has to be in the team. She's brilliant at hockey. My sister was like, no, she doesn't have to be. If she doesn't enjoy competing, sorry, I know it would help your team, but no. And so we are all different. And my niece hasn't done competitive sport, but is usually active in other ways. In fact, she took me along to her yoga class the other week where we got a cider. So I like her kind of exercising. Yoga and cider in a field, just amazing. But yeah, it's finding what's right for you. And then at different times when you do need to adapt and when you have got injuries. So I think that's why I finally embraced things like walking. I also now do quite a lot of sea swimming, although I sort of pause before saying swimming because I don't swim much. I go in the water and I poodle about a bit. I'm not a strong swimmer, but I will paddle about. But I just love the feeling of being in the cold water. And because I haven't been able to do other activities, I've had to give up adult gymnastics a while ago or paused it. I may have to, I'm still trying to decide if I have to fully give up or not. I haven't been able to run lately because I've had a couple of injuries, but I now know when I can't do those things, I've got to replace it with something. So I've been replacing it with lots of walking and sea swims and paddle, which probably hasn't been great on my ankles and knees either, but in small bursts, I can kind of control it a bit more. And actually, I have an amazing chiropractor who understands me and that whole body and mind well-being. That there was a period of time where I couldn't run because she was working on an old ankle injury. She said, but no, don't stop doing everything, because for you, it's more important that you've got to keep doing some kind of exercise. So it is working out for you or for your children what works for them. It doesn't have to be competitive sport. It's more about exercise than sport.
And there are different things you can get out of sport. So going on a walk every morning on your own is quite a good way of clearing your head. But you won't get a sense of achievement. And other things, like when you're going to the gymnastics club every week, you're probably in the same class as others. There's a lot of social. So again, a lot of team stuff is about the social aspect. Playing football, having a pint. Doing this, having a cider. There's that social side. And then you've got that sense of achievement. And then you've got you can hyper-focus if you're into mountain biking or generally any sport. There's always tech. There's always some form of tech.
Yeah.
A GPS watch, the right trainers for your right gait, all that sort of stuff. There's something you can fascinate out and play over and see and get really fully into. And I think for everyone, it's working out what is the bit that will hook you.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure we all know those people who have got all the kit but no idea, who are like, they get into their new sport and they'll buy everything. It's like, oh, how did you find it when you used it? I haven't used it yet. I'm just looking at it, setting it up.
Shall we sign you up for an ADHD diagnosis? I've got everything. 2 weeks later, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit like that because it's like, there's no point in buying the basic stuff because it's fair economy. You just replace it. So you go up the next level and you end up buying a load of stuff. And then, my hyper-focus is gone. I'm moving on to something else because something didn't go well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, thankfully I'm quite good on that. I know I can't go and buy the expensive stuff. So I'll buy secondhand stuff and things like that. So don't end up spending too much on it. Plus, I just want to get into it. So I don't spend ages looking into what I need. I just start it and do it. And then actually sometimes realize that if I had the right kit, it might help. But yeah, my boot is hilarious. I've just recently moved house and we had a van doing a couple of runs. And then it was like, right, we just need to check everything in our cars. And I got over to my new house and my brother came out to help unload it. And I looked and I was like, oh no, all that stuff stays in my car. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, that's my roller skates, my swim stuff in case I haven't planned to go for a swim, but I just suddenly decide I need to go in the sea. There's still a football in there from when like my son would suddenly, I don't know, we just needed to play football. Trainers in case I was wearing work clothes and didn't have suitable footwear. A rounder's bat. There's various things that are just part of my boot.
Did it look like you just robbed Decathlon?
It's hilarious. Oh, and then the dry robe, obviously, at the top. So that, well, actually, my moon wrap version of dry robe. And so I'm like, why did you bring it? Oh, I can see why you would think that somebody wouldn't have all their sports kit in the car, but you just never know when you might need it.
It's like that thing when someone goes, oh, you've been robbed. No, someone's going, have I?
This is how I live.
Yes, I definitely have been. Yes, this isn't how it normally is.
Yes.
So we've talked about the benefits of the physical exercise, and you generally there are those families who are just sportily active and those who are more docile. I'm not saying there is a link between my family all being autistic and quite a sedentary or whatever it is, and docile, but it probably very much is. And it isn't a case of physical activity is great for some. Physical activity is great for everyone, for our physical fitness and our mental health. So we all need to do it.
100%. And a lot of it, though, comes from, I'm trying to think who I was having this conversation with just recently about school sport and PE and how it can actually put off a lot of people rather than encourage it. And actually, I've been a member of a running group for quite a while. I haven't been able to join recently because of my injuries. But I was shocked by how many of them said, oh, no, I hated sport, any kind of sport at school. I didn't do sport. And now they're avid runners. And I'm like, well, then something's wrong if they didn't enjoy it at school. And still now it's you've got to do certain things. I think schools are improving. And I've worked in primary, secondary and further education within sport. And I've seen sort of all sorts of things, lots of positive moves towards it being, you just need to do some kind of exercise. And there being things like walking clubs or a lunchtime running club, or there's the competitive football, rugby, netball, whatever it might be. But there's still that pressure to have to join in with things that people don't feel comfortable with. And I've really seen, and I'd say particularly young people with autism, who are just excused from every sports lesson because they don't feel comfortable. And I get that. I wouldn't want them to have to do it and feel uncomfortable. But if we just adapted slightly the way we taught them, what we offered, they would enjoy it and they would get so much from it, and their mental health would be better for it rather than worse. But we're not quite there yet with that full understanding. And it's difficult because you've mainly got PE teachers who are like me and like competing. So you have to get your head round, hang on, some children don't like that. I guess for me, it's slightly easier for me to get my head round because I always was pretty rubbish at competing. It all went a bit wrong at the crucial moment because my head got in the way. So I do understand that sort of the issues going on, the battle between wanting to do something and your mind saying you can't, or however it is. But I think we've got a lot of PE teachers who obviously just love sport, and it's incomprehensible that anyone wouldn't want to. It's a bit like your maths teachers who don't understand that people are scared of maths.
Yeah.
Like, what? And sometimes the people who are best at maths aren't always the best maths teachers because it's just so obvious to them. They can't teach it to people who don't understand. And it's that the concept of physical activity, I think, is the same. It almost shouldn't be the PE teachers who are trying to teach the concept of the importance of physical activity, because what we generally do is, oh, yeah, you can play this ball, you can try and win this. And what about if you got to this amazing level and blah, 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 blah. And that's not what it's at for most people. For the majority of people, they're not going to achieve a high level of sport, but they're going to find a skill that sees them through life and balances their moods and everything, because they can do exercise that's healthy and beneficial for them.
See, my problem is, if I go back to, I hated PE at school. Generally, even at primary, it's a team sport with your class of fixed number of children. And there are those who want to play football professionally, who are good and competitive. And when you're not as good as them, they make sure you know. So there's a lot of that teamness. There's that team side. And generally, if you're not good enough, it's going to make you feel rubbish. Or if you're going to rely on someone and you're not sure if you can rely on them because they're maybe not into it as much as you're not going to maybe enjoy it as much. So that teamness, that there's one is being in a team. That at primary and secondary can be really hard. There's that how competitive you are. They're the two biggest things, and the bits where I think nearly all PE is a team-based thing until you get into athletics. And then you're just running for the sake of running. You're either going my secondary school used to have the cross-country run, where you just run somewhere, and again, if you're not confident, you're at the back, and there's lots of things which just make you feel rubbish if you're not at the front. And then if you are rubbish and you're coming last, and everyone who finished first gets to just watch and point and laugh at you. Yeah, you can see how much I love PE. You can see. But actually, I did sailing. I enjoyed sailing. And sailing in a dinghy is physical. There's a lot going on, a lot of strength, whole body. It's hard work. Loved that. I also enjoyed cycling. I did a lot of cycling on a BMX and later on in mountain bikes. I enjoyed it. And the sport I enjoy is me on my own. Yeah. And again, when you talk about the runners, it's me on my own. I'm not relying on anyone else. Yeah. And as an adult, you also learn, I think this is a big thing as an adult, you're competing against yourself, no one else. And that's something which takes so long to learn in adulthood. In everything you're doing, you're only competing against yourself, no one else.
Yeah.
But I think for that, as you said, in those PE lessons, those lessons you've learned, all those things, it's all teamwork, all that stuff. If you're not that sporty person, it's going to be downhill. As soon as you get into neurodiversity and that certainty, and also not picking up on the little cues in games of what something means and all that lot, and getting, it's hard work.
Yeah, it really is. And I think a lot of it is our whole approach. And I talk a lot in some of the other work I do and training I deliver about the importance of everything being done in a neurodiverse friendly way. And that has a real impact on things like PE and sport at school, as well as the class-based activities, because you can build a culture where children are much more encouraging of each other. So rather than being like, oh, come on, why have you let the team down? Why have you done that? They encourage each other. And he's my son, so obviously I think he's amazing. But I have seen my son just be incredible in sports situations. And actually, I've taught him PE at secondary school, poor kid. And every child, he would be trying to help if they didn't have so much sporting ability as him, and he would appreciate them for what they brought to the team. And when he played in football teams, he would understand. And I mean, he's had a lifetime of me going on about how it's great that everyone's different and we need to see the positives and work with that. But he'd say, like, some of the behavior of some people he's played in teams with, as a parent, you stand and go, oh my goodness, where's that child come from? And what have his parents done? And blah, blah, blah. And we're all ready to, judge. And he's like, Mum, he has some challenges, but he's really good. And he does listen to us when we tell him to calm down and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, I can't believe it's you teaching me. Yes, you are right. And we can develop a culture where children and young people are supporting each other and saying, well, okay, I'm not so good at that. So can you help me with this? And I'll help you with that. And even within in a team situation, it can be, okay, well, you do more of whatever it is, the attacking, defending. It's fine. Just because you don't like being a striker in football doesn't mean you wouldn't like to be in goal or in a defence position. But sometimes we don't give children the option of that. It's just you will try all of that and you will do it and you will have to do it. And I don't care if you're scared. And I'm delivering some training next week to a big rugby club. And one of the things that's come up beforehand is that some of the children, particularly those who are likely to be neurodivergent, are really scared of elements of rugby and the scrums and things like that. And it's really important that there's that open and honest communication with that feeling psychological safety, where they can say to their coaches, but actually, I'm quite scared about that. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to, I'm scared. Whereas I'm sure there are many people who have played rugby in their time or trained for rugby and have thought there is absolutely no way I can tell this rugby coach that I'm scared of that, because they will and they literally would laugh at them. Whereas we need it to be an environment where people understand and go, actually, yeah, that's a good point, because naturally we are meant to protect ourselves. We're not meant to put ourselves in a dangerous position. And there are ways that you can protect yourself so that it's not so scary. Or for some people, maybe that's just not for them. I know my dad was a very good footballer, loved football. He was very, very little. And he was scared of rugby. He was claustrophobic as well. So the idea of a scrum was awful. So he would just make sure he was always the one who ran fast. That was his skill. So he didn't get caught in a big bundle and be like, oh, everyone's on top of me, I'm going to be crushed. He would just use his brilliant speed and just run really fast. And that was how he could contribute. And then I think it's also thinking about that individual sports still help to build skills of teamwork. And obviously gymnastics is a big passion of mine. Gymnastics is predominantly individual sport. And I saw something on Facebook, I was yesterday or today, from the club that my daughter used to go to and I coached at, with one of the mums sharing her daughter's routine and saying, yes, it's an individual sport, but listen to the cheering in the background, and all her teammates are cheering her on. And that's something I found amazing when my daughter was competing. And the club she competed with, they were so just encouraging of each other. And actually, my daughter, when she first started there, was a bit taken aback. My daughter isn't naturally one who likes hugs and sort of everyone being around her. And the first time she did a new skill and all of her squad came and jumped on her, she literally stood there in the middle like, what's happening? I thought I'd done something good. And she embraced it and she got used to it, and that built her confidence. And she then knew how to encourage others as well. And it was her sort of happy, comfortable place. Now there probably needed to be some some awareness that some children might not appreciate that. Thankfully, she adapted to it. For others, it might not be, and it's kind of teaching those gymnasts that sometimes a high five might be better, or a fist pump, or whatever. We're all a bit different, and it's great to encourage each other in a way that's suitable. But there's just so much you can gain from that. I mean, that club is just a small club in South Devon who now has an Olympic gymnast. Abby Martin went to the Olympics last year, age 16, from that club. And it's amazing. And a lot of it is to do with how well they work together, how well they communicate. No club gets everything absolutely right, but there's a lot of positives there. And it's lovely to see that club having such success, having sort of built a certain culture.
So again, a thing which just is always on this podcast is the idea of certainty. So that idea of your daughter learning a new trick, everyone running at her, why are they doing this? What am I supposed to do? Blah, blah, blah. That certainty is just all there, that I have no idea what's going on. Am I supposed to be enjoying this? It happens to her. She's like, oh, that was all right.
Yes.
Okay. It happens again. She's like, oh, it's going to hug me again. So you learn. Yeah. So that's uncertainty. She now knows, right, so when there's someone else do it, I just run and bundle them. And jump for joy like everyone else is. Okay, cool. I'm learning how to do this. It's that uncertainty we all have. And again, in rugby, being in a scrum, well, what's it like being in there? It looks really horrible. Okay, let's get into position. How's that feeling? It's feeling all right. Now let's go head to head with someone. Oh, that's going to be really. It's a cooperative. The teams opposite have to kind of work together. Oh, that certainty is there so much, but this is like a physical safety certainty.
Yes.
It's not what happens in lunch or what the lunch hall is going to look like. Is this really going to hurt?
Yeah.
Is it dangerous? It's that, I think when you're in those physical sports, you're in those teams, there's that full on physical safety bit kicks in, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are lots of things, gymnastics is a really scary sport. You're on a beam, it's 10 centimeters wide, and you're performing the most incredible skills that most people couldn't do on a floor, and you're doing it up on this beam. But if you're taught the right way and you're able, and beam block is a big thing in gymnastics, where they do have mind blocks about the beam, because of course your mind is saying, what are you doing? Why are you putting me on this tiny piece of equipment and making me do somersaults and things? But if you understand it and you talk it through, it really is, so much of it is about communication, understanding what the fear is, how to overcome it, how to gradually build things up. Whereas a lot of the time we expect children and young people just to do what we say, right? Get up on that beam and do that. Well, actually, it's really good that they might question it and go, well, hang on, why would I do that? That I might hurt myself. Okay, that's right. Okay, let's take it back a step. Let's walk along a line first of all. Then let's go to a floor beam. Then we'll gradually go up when you feel more comfort and you understand how to protect yourself. Even things like how to fall is really important. So I think communicating clearly and adapting to needs is really important. For me as a parent, I always used to sort of tell football coaches of my sons that he's dyslexic and that he has quite slow processing. So if you want to teach him something new, for one thing, show him rather than just keep telling him. And he may have to do it a few times to pick it up, but then he will get it. But if you just try and tell him something completely different, or like in the middle of a match, you suddenly tell him something that he just won't have a clue what you're talking about. And we were very lucky actually to have great coaches who really took that on board and supported him and really helped him develop. But there's often this thing of, whether we as neurodivergent individuals tell people about our neurodiversity, and the same for children, whether we even tell them they've got some kind of neurodivergence, or whether we tell their, people who are working with them. For me, it's absolutely a no-brainer, and open and honest communication is the best way. I totally understand why people don't always feel like that. And I think sometimes parents feel embarrassed or like they're going to be judged or their child's going to be pigeonholed. Generally speaking, though, by everyone having the information and not just a title, because you can have two people. So like we've both got ADHD, but we're very different, and our approach to sport and things like that is very different. It's not much use in a way just saying, oh, I've got ADHD, so yeah, you know how to deal with me. Yeah, no, it's what are the things that make you you? Where are your strengths? Where are the things that might be challenging? So like with my son, I didn't just tell the coaches, oh, he's got dyslexia, and they'd think, well, he's not going to read and write with us. What are you telling me? For like, what's that all about? Whereas it's like, okay, his processing is slow. He needs to see things and do them. So be explicit with things and have those honest conversations rather than throwing a child into a situation where if people aren't prepared for their little individualities, in an ideal world, everyone would be neurodiverse friendly and understand it and pick up on the signs quickly and it would all be beautiful and perfect. That's never going to happen. Perfect doesn't exist. So communicate. So parents, please communicate with clubs. And the other things for clubs and sort of school sports teams and things to think about, that neurodivergence is highly hereditary. If you've got a neurodiverse child, it's likely at least one parent is neurodivergent as well. So make sure your systems to book on and the instructions about where they've got to be at what time and how they pay are simple and straightforward. There's so many clubs out there who have got these really complicated systems and then are like, oh, is that why people aren't joining? Like, yeah, that child's missing out because their parent can't get them onto it. You could just make your system a bit more simple and it'll be fine. Be absolutely fine.
So circling back to like your son kind of encouraging everyone. And I remember years ago I was saying PE, it's about the exercise, it's about the physical activity. So why can't like my daughter just go to the gym in the school and do PE, just literally put her headphones on and walk for 50 minutes and get off again? And they're like, oh, it's all about the teamwork and blah, 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 blah. And I think what really helps is if those children are a team before they come to PE, you don't use PE to build the team. Because at that point, some are great, some are rubbish, and it can get quite horrible, especially if you're stuck with them on your team. You want them to be a team and to be friends arriving at PE, not trying to make it happen in PE. That's, I think, a big thing is if you know, if you literally walk in, you probably know they're not going to be great, but they are your friend, or you can encourage them, or they help you in English, or they help you. You see their strengths. When you see their weakness, you see they're maybe not good. It's not like, yeah, but he's great here, or he's a good. You can't just make it happen in this physical world. It's not a team in isolation on the football pitch. That team, that class needs to feel that throughout so that it continues and you see a different point. And maybe the child who is being supported in the classroom, maybe that child, the ADHD child, the dyslexic child who's struggling in the thing, suddenly out on the football pitch is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And even things like gym activities can be team activities. And the secondary school I taught PE at, we used to have from year 9 upwards, I think it was, we'd have gym sessions and we'd do things like they could choose which exercise they do and they'd have points allocated, which all went towards the class's miles. So say we'd say, look, it's so, I'm useless at geography, so I can't think off the top of my head, but we'd say it's so far from London to Paris, we're trying to get from London to Paris in this PE lesson. So for every mile you do on the bike, that's a mile. For every so many of this exercise you do, that's so many miles. And it just, you keep tallying it up, not who's done what, just that's another 5, that's another 6, another 3, another 1. It doesn't matter who did each one. And if someone's done more, as a group, you are working towards that totally. You're not against anyone else. There's not another team who are doing better than you. You are just trying to work together. And then the children would sometimes say, they weren't children, they were young people, that they'd, encourage each other. They go on, I think you could keep going a little bit more, and not a go on, you've got to do it because we've got to win. It's a go on, you're doing really well with that. And yeah, and as you said earlier, bringing that, if you've already got that team spirit, that is so much more positive. Whereas if you go into a PE lesson and there's a lot of animosity, they're not used to that culture of thinking that it's great to be different. It's more, well, why are you rubbish at this? And it might be that someone who's not very good at sport has given them hassle in the maths lesson because they're really good at maths and you're not, it all sort of comes round. And then it's that it shouldn't be, but it's that, well, you were horrible to me in this lesson, so now I'm going to, whereas if it's supportive throughout, that grows, doesn't it? And it's more and more about support. So it is totally about culture and communication.
Now, we're coming to the end, but one bit I just want to kind of make sure we touch on is we're talking about children doing sport and neurodivergent in school. There are those who can't go into school. So EBSA, two things I want to mention in here. First is, when we think of EBSA, we can be in that situation where for some children there is home and there is school, and they are the only two worlds that exist. If you can introduce physical activity, either just in the local area, so I'm not going to school, I'm just going out for a walk outside of my house. Now it's now a third place. If I can go to gym, if I can go to football, and again, just because they can't go to school doesn't mean they can't go to football. That's two different things. It's not a home, or it is, they can go to football, they can see their friends. It's about them, again, for them seeing that it's not the world that's evil. It's not the world they can't cope with. It's the school environment. And you've got to help them see it's not their house and everything else. No, it's everything else in the school. That's a big difference, I think, to your child. So trying to get them to do that activity still is a great way of socializing with children and seeing, actually, it's all right outside my house. But also, if they are not going to school, if they are just staying at home, no physical exercise, the walk to school, the PE, is going to have another bigger impact on top of everything else by not doing that physical exercise.
Absolutely. That is so important. Absolutely. And even if they're not ready to join a club or join a group, take them along to watch. So at least maybe they're outside getting fresh air. They might have walked there with you. They might start learning some of the sort of skills that are involved in the communication between the team by observing it. They might eventually become confident enough to try it, or they might want to try something else, but they've seen that environment. And again, it's another place where they can go to and feel comfortable, because you're absolutely right. Children who aren't in school because they've just switched off from that environment, they can't cope with it, they've had bad experience, whatever it might be, they need to know that there are safe places out there. But if you just push too hard to be like, right, you're going to go and do this club because you need to be going somewhere, then that could actually end up being another negative experience and another, oh my goodness, it's only home that's safe. So do it gradually, do it right for them.
But just think about, if they are at home and not getting that fit, it can lead to, when they then go, and I was talking to a school that my nephew was basically EBSA with 2-3 years, went to look at a school, and literally walking around the school, going up the 2 flights of stairs to whatever classroom, that tired him out. His knees hurt because he hadn't gone up 2 or 3 flights in one go for a very long time. So actually, just walking around the school,
it goes quickly, but you can build it back up again. Yeah, absolutely.
So just walking around the school, actually the biggest barrier for him on that first day was his physical fitness.
Yeah.
So it's about, just because they're not going to school, that's not like, fine, sit in your bedroom, sit at home. I'm not saying, I sound crazy, just sit at home. I know you encourage it and all that, but it's the exercise. You still need to try and find a way that works for them to keep them physically active.
Yeah, and I would say a top tip, especially if you've got a child who is really anxious about leaving the house, get an old Wii, Nintendo Wii, chuck on Wii Fit or Wii Sports. It is great fun as a family to do the activities. You don't feel like you're exercising, but actually you can get some really good exercise. You can do hula hooping, you can do golf, you can do all sorts. So there's something probably in there for everyone. And that might all then trigger an interest to be like, actually, I want to try this in real life. But in looking at it and playing a computer game, they are actually getting fitter. You don't have to use all the sort of weigh-ins and the check your physical age. That would be too much for some people. But for some, once they start getting into it, that might be helpful as well, and be like, oh yeah, I'm getting better at that. Oh look, I've beaten my own target or my own personal best. So yeah, absolutely. Think outside the box, even if that means starting with a computer program inside the house. That can be an introduction to sport and physical exercise.
And another one is, it must be a neurodiverse thing, is I won't do things for myself. I will do them for other people. So if they won't go for a walk, could you get a dog? Or is there a neighbour's dog or somebody's dog which needs a walk? Then they're not going for a walk. They're exercising the dog. And although that's the exact same thing logically, it's not. It's a very different thing. One is I go to look after this dog and play with them.
Yeah.
And the other is I'm walking around. No, it's two very different things. It's a complete distraction. It removes the focus off them getting the exercise. Their focus is on taking this dog out and exploring.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Really good idea. And yeah, I think things like borrowing other people's dogs, or the neighbours asked us if we can help them out and walk their dog during the day. Great. That is fantastic and totally shifts the mindset, takes the sort of demand away from it. It's not about, I'm being made to exercise and I don't like exercise. It's a bit like with reading and spelling. I really like the Touch Type Read and Spell program because kids are learning to touch type. They don't think they're doing more reading and spelling, which is the thing they already are failing at and feel useless at and hate doing. They think they're being grown up and learning to touch type, which they are. But at the same time, the reading and spelling is really kicking in. And it's the same thing with exercise. It's kind of introduce it in different ways. Don't be like, you've got to do sport because it's good for you. If you've switched off from something, it doesn't matter how good you are, good it is for you. You're not going to do it if you hate it. So find ways around it. Be clever.
So I have that voice in my head every morning. You got to get up out of bed. You got to do your sport. It's good for you. And I hate it. I'm hoping at some point I'll get this magical moment. The light will shine and I go, I get it and I love it. It's never going to happen. I know it's never going to happen.
Good after you've finished your session in the gym.
No.
Oh yeah, no, you've blown last guy.
No, there's nothing. I'm literally. But what I do is on the mornings when I go to the gym, I get up and I don't look at my phone. And I get there, and often when I look at my phone in the morning, I'm checking my email, I'm saying, I need to do this. Okay, what do I need to do? I get to the gym, I get on the treadmill, I do a fast walk, listening to music, and I get my phone out and I look at my emails at that point. I look at my calendar and go, I'm podcasting today. Cool. What's that on? Okay. And I'm using my time to plan out my day that I would have just sat in bed and done.
Yeah.
And then I look down, and suddenly I've only got 10 minutes left of my 50-minute walk.
Yeah.
So I'm occupying my brain by planning my day and thinking about the day ahead and the week ahead. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then I do the machines and all that lot. And again, I know with my arms, frozen shoulders and all that lot, I need to do that. I'm never loving it. I still haven't. In 6 months' time, I might be different. I might just be more used to it. But I'm never going to love it. But I have to do it. And I've got to occupy my brain when I'm doing it.
Yes.
That's the bit that I struggle with.
Listen to podcasts. That's an amazing thing to do while you're running or at the gym.
Podcast.
Because, I don't know any good ones. Do you know any good ones you could recommend?
Maybe. Might be one.
But yeah, no, that's a great way. And I've often looked like a complete nutter as I'm running along because I'll be listening to a humorous I'm not laughing at you. I'm listening to a podcast that's meant to be funny, okay? I'm not listening to you. But obviously I sometimes listen to you and that's great too. I'm digging deeper. This is getting worse.
Yep.
But podcasts can be brilliant because you do forget the time. You forget the pain. I'm not a natural long distance runner. I was short, sharp activities for gymnastics and I used to hate running. And for me, what got me out was the feeling, because I did have a great feeling afterwards, because for me, it was that sense of achievement. I'd done the run, I'd done my exercise. And then it took a while before I got to the point where I was like, part of that run, I actually enjoyed the run. And then it'd be like, well, I think I enjoyed most of that run. And it's a build up, but you've got to do whatever works for you. So if just giving yourself time to listen to a podcast that you maybe don't normally have time for is what you do while you're doing your exercise, great, you do it for that.
But it is. I think there's some most team sports, your brain is going, you're thinking, but you're playing with a team and they're not always that great. But I think as an adult, it's almost like you're setted. As an adult, football teams are set. There are those doing professional, all the different leagues. Mm-hmm. I'm in the bottom set. I'm in that mature team who read every so often. That's what I do, the dad's football. Yeah, that's the bottom set PE, isn't it? So it's already streamed, so we're all fine. But it is, I think, if you're doing team stuff, if you're doing technical, you're thinking about what you're doing. But walking, it doesn't require thinking. So but you can't just sit there and walk going, this is really boring, because it is.
Yeah.
If you're out and about, you can always phone someone. Yeah.
Yes.
Going for a walk, your son's at uni, phone your son. Yeah, literally, as you walk out your door, phone your son with a pair of headphones on and have that conversation as you're walking.
Yeah, I don't think that would work for me because he's not like to answer, is he?
No, that's true. But there's certain people you have that phone call with, and I have a friend.
Absolutely.
He'll drop his son off at Taekwondo. He's got 40 minutes, and we have a conversation for 40 minutes while he's having a walk.
Yeah.
And it's those sort of things, occupy the brain, and you end up going, have I just walked for 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trick the brain.
It is a case of tricking the brain, tricking your own brain, tricking your young person's brain if you're trying to get them to exercise. It's not wrong because you're doing it for the right reasons and it's going to be beneficial.
And sometimes, with most things, it's the start is the worst. The start is the uncertainty. And then once you start talking and walking and you start turning left a few too many times and you've gone on a really long walk, they haven't even noticed.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
In a nice way, trick them.
Yeah. I think we've just told everyone to deceive their children.
In the right way, for the right reasons.
Right way,
not child snatcher kind of way. Not like, come, my pretties. Come and have some chocolate.
Come walk with me.
Get in here. No, not that.
Oh dear. Maybe we should have stopped at 45 minutes.
Perhaps we should. So let's stop now before I have to go even worse.
Oh dear.
Thank you for coming on the show today.
It's been very enjoyable.
Good. In the bit beforehand, I said, welcome to the show. She went, I don't want to be here.
No, I didn't say that.
You did.
No, I don't know what he's talking about.
As always, I'm going to be sharing my guest contact details. So you'll find ways to contact Liz in the show notes. And she's also given me links to find out all the stuff she does, including a new thing called the Compass Panel, which you will hopefully meet all the members later on the podcast, which will be fun. And as always, you'll find the links and the show notes whether you listen to the podcast or on the Zencast website. So thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed already, click on that subscribe button. And don't forget to follow us on various social media platforms. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, which is slowly we're getting there with that. TikTok, we're on lots of different ones. And as always, if you're looking for a simple, secure way to capture and share evidence of learning, or a way to capture people's voice, a way to celebrate and share achievements, or a simple, safe way to communicate with parents, you need to have a look at Eversense. Eversense is our evidence system that does so much more to boost parental engagement. You can do your homeschool diaries, your reading diaries, all that sort of stuff in a nice, simple social media interface. To find out more about Eversense, visit the B Square website and you'll find out all the other stuff we do. And if you look in the show notes alongside the contact details for Liz, you'll find a meeting link to book a meeting with me, so I can take you through Eversense and show you what it can do. So thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Zencast. It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Bye, everyone.